Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the project again on what day is it? It's Thursday. It's the 19th of March, and it's catch up time, really. We've had some interesting little podcasts this week. I think we've actually done one every day this week, which is brilliant. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about squad analysis again. We're going to look a little bit more in depth at the midfield and what we think we need. I thought we'd also have a look at possibility of any kind of change in the setup. I know there's not going to be a big change, but we could just look at a few options, I guess. Look at the league table now that Southampton are up there in sixth after a victory against Norwich last night. I didn't actually see it. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It would be good to have a little chat with you if we did. And I might be having someone coming on to have a little chat with me. It's a bit of a privileged gig, actually. And I'd love to get this sort of person on. Apparently, he has private conversations with Tom Wagner. I can't wait to hear from him. He must have all sorts of secrets. So let's just see who's on board and we can have a chat, can't we? Okay, come and speak. We're going to get some comments through any second now. Always takes a few minutes. Usually we get the normal early comments coming on. No one at the moment, but I'm sure we're going to have someone in a minute. Like I said, I'm expecting this guy to come on. It was funny because a guy called William Gallup put a post in basically supporting Chris Davis and talking about the very first open house when we were present. Actually, it's the one where Beck was having a chat with Wayne Rooney and Gary Cook. And this guy, and this is where Tom Wagner actually told us, that we've got a 5-year plan in place, and this guy's come on and said no. He tried to make Emily look a bit stupid by saying you don't understand what what a hedge fund does. Well, he obviously doesn't understand the way United approaches with hedge funds. They're totally different. Angus is on. Good afternoon, Angus. How you doing, son? Nice to see you, mate. First one on today, kid. Hope you're all right, Angus. But I'm going to carry on. I'm just going to carry on telling the story because it is amusing. And I actually went in and like defended Emir because this guy was trying to make her look small. Like he these like fucking unimportant cocks who are really impressed easily alike. And he said. He said, you don't really understand, if you knew what a hedge fund is, well, yeah, we do, but we also know that United operate them completely differently. I told him it might be an idea if he had a little look at Hertz and looked at the model that we used for that particular hedge fund and a few other things. I told him he should educate himself really a little bit. He came back, he was obviously quite upset and pointed out to me that he goes into hospitality. And apparently he's been going into hospitality for 60 years. Now, 60 years ago, you can imagine what the hospitality was like. A blues that don't even exist. But anyway, this guy then says that he has it from Tom Wagner, who only tells him because he goes to hospitality so much. Tom Wagner actually informed him that if we don't get promoted this season, Chris Davis is on his way. The 5-year plan didn't include Chris Davis. He did it afterwards. And but this isn't. He wouldn't tell it to the open house, of course, because the open house is public. Not like telling everyone on fucking Facebook is public, you idiot. Anyway, I actually went into our moderation group and got them to, and I showed them this. I said, go and look at this guy's posts, will you? Guys, have a look at him. His name's Tim Dore, absolute tool. How you doing, Matthew? You all right, mate? Matthew Butler. Yeah, complete tool, this bloke. You've met the sort, haven't you? They sort of, and he kept bringing up how he's been in, he's been going in hospitality. I don't suppose you've ever been in hospitality. And then he said, this guy's wireless like his gold. I said to him, I said, we actually, I said, he said, I thought this group was all about freedom of speech. I said, yeah, freedom of speech comes with some side orders, and one of them is that bullshit is bullshit unless you prove it. I said, if you've got some kind of recording of Tom Wagner telling you this or whatever, and he come back and said, as if I'm going to make a recording of Tom. He's just told the whole group, what Tom's told him in privacy, these little secret conversations that they have. And then I said, I said, actually, we have quite close ties with the group, with the club, unlike some bullshitters. And the guy comes back and he goes, close ties, explain them, are you a director? I mean, what a cock. I've invited him to come on, so I hope he comes on. He won't have big enough balls to come on. He's got a big mouth, but he's got no balls. But let's pray he comes on. I really hope he does, because I want to speak to this kid. Hello, everyone. Graham Parrish, how you doing, Gray? Love to see you, mate. What we got here? Andy Judge, Roughneck, Pamfield. How you doing, son, from Sedgley? Judge Roughneck in session. We all love the specials, mate, don't we? Yeah. So I thought I'd just share that with you. But if you go and have a little look at it, because it is funny. It's in the group, and the guy's name that put the post in was William Gallant, and then this geezer Tim Dorey. Mike starts making his comments. He's funny, mate. Honestly, go and have a look. Just go and have a look at him. You got a smile at these people. It's like so. Sedgley, mate. I've been Sedgley for ages. You're in the Black Country there, kids. So nice to have a bit of blues in the Black Country, innit? Paul James is on. How you doing, Paul? Did you have a look at that post, Paul? It was funny, wasn't it? Andy Judge Roughneck Barnfield has just realised that I realised. Court in session! Court in session! Brilliant, mate. Neville Staples, of course, doing his fantastic impersonation of Judge Roughneck. Yeah, so we're going to talk today about the game that's coming up on. Well, we're not really. We're going to talk a bit about the Derby game if you want, but we still want to have a little look at a few of the squad members that we might be thinking about moving on or not moving on, or what do we need. I was also wanting to have a little chat today about the possible formation that we're going to play next season. Now, obviously, we could theoretically play anything, but we know that ain't going to happen. We play possession-based football, and this is what Tom Wagner has wanted from day one. Always. Paul James saying, I'm in hospitality, I'll have you know. What a melt. Paul, honestly, you couldn't make it up, could you, mate? Yeah, so the way we generally play, and Chris Davis' chosen way of playing, and a lot of managers play this way now, is the 4-2-3-1 with two pivotal defensive mids. It can be changed, it ain't going to be changed massively, but there are different ways of playing that way. We actually play with 3 in possession at the back and 4 out of possession. So when we go forward, we take the extra man forward. When we defend, we drop him back. But there are other ways we could play it. I don't know. You let me know what your thoughts are, and tell me what you think. Also, I really hope this Tim geezer comes on. I know he won't, but I just wish he would. It would be funny if he did. I remember a few weeks ago we had that guy on. Do you remember? If Tina Baker's on, Tina was winding this bloke up something terrible, but it was funny. But you got to have a little laugh at them. They do your head in a little bit, because when people take this I'm better than you kind of attitude. I mean, number one, it's very not blues, is it? And number two, it's just laughable. I mean, honestly, it's like as if anyone believes the crap. But you know, these people, they take some beating. Um, so Paul James, Paul, just I mean, you have your opinions on this sort of stuff, and what do you think in terms of the actual setup itself? You know, the formation that we play and the way we play it. Is this something you continue? And have we got the players to play it? I mean, I think we could play that 4-2-3-1 better. Sorry, yeah, 4-2-3-1 better if we had a more settled back four, and if both centre halves could bring the ball out and play it a little bit better. I know we do see, and to be fair to him, you know, when Clara gets that ball and he goes on some of his runs, it's quite a thing to see. But you know, like if we had just a slightly, and this is what I hope we're going to do, is we're going to buy a left-sided centre half who's also, you know, a bit of a Colin Todd kind of player. You know, Colin Todd could play centre half all day long, but what a great footballer. I'm not saying we're going to get a Colin Todd, but you know what I mean. Someone who can play that kind of ball, who can bring the ball forward, who's strong, but's got a really good pass in him. That would be great because it would help the transition from the back four. Bringing in John Solis has helped the transitional moves from the back four a lot. You know, so John Solis does a lot of the work that was shared before between Paik and Iwata, and neither one of them was really the one that went back to collect the ball. The ball was more often than not passed out to them, where sometimes you'll see John Solis appearing amongst the back four and bringing the ball out himself, and I think that makes a big difference to us. But I just think if we had a left-sided centre half who could bring it out. So we've seen Chris Wilder do it actually against us the other night with Sheffield United. He did something that he's done before when he took them up to the Premier League for the first time, and the Premier League had never seen like attacking centre halves, which is what he did. He kept the full-backs back and he put the centre halves wide, and we actually seen it the other night when we were, I think it was 1-1 at the time, but when we were really pressing them, you notice their centre half starting to go wide, and it just shocks the opposition a little bit. You know, you're not expecting it, but you have to have a centre half that can play football to do that kind of thing. And if you've got a choice of four defenders that could join the attack instead of probably just Ethan Laird, then it makes us so much more adaptable to virtually anything, doesn't it? Graham Busby's on. How you doing? Great. Sanderson will be up for the Derby game. Yeah, I think he will. I feel a bit sorry for Dean Sanderson. In all honesty, I do. He wasn't too bad a player, was he? And I think he just got on the wrong side of the fans. He had that little bit of time, you know, when Eustace went. He was just, I did feel a bit sorry for him. But you know what? I mean, he's a footballer and he's done all right since. He's at Derby. He's got himself a contract. So I think, all well and good. He's not the greatest centre half in the world. So I think either Sanderson or Priska. I mean, Priska's going to just brush him out of the way. Sanderson is too strong for him, but he can play football, you know, which is nice. So we'll look what Liabi's saying. Went downhill from drink driving thing. Yeah, he did. I think he had his few mental issues, to be honest, Lee. And listen, you know, I've had that thing myself, and a lot of people have as well. And I think it's one of those things. I hope he's recovered from it, and he was all right at the Blues. He never, he was always okay. And let's hope he does well. But let's hope he makes a few cock-ups on Saturday, Scott Harrison saying hello to me. How you doing, Scott? It's nice to see you, mate. So I think we need this left-sided centre half to be a bit of a colossus, you know, not necessarily massively big, strong, you know, 6 foot plus. We can get away with 6 foot centre halves, and but able to put his foot on the ball and able to play the ball. So there's two ways of doing this. We go out and we find one, so go through the lower divisions, look for. There's always going to be one or two that are really, really good that get missed, or we go out and we buy an established one. And I know 90% of people are going to say, no, we need to buy an established one. A year ago, I would have disagreed. Now, I'm more of the thinking that just to make sure that we cover ourselves next season, that we actually, do that. We look for the centre half that's probably already established somewhere. It's probably going to cost us a lot more money, but I think it's something that we need, that left-sided centre half. The thing that's been one of our biggest issues this season for me, I said it yesterday, is the fact that the two centre halves and the goalkeeper changed so many times. I know there's only two keepers, and I think, as I remember it, I think Beadle's played 27, and I don't know, like Ryan Allsop's played 15 or something like that. So I think this is cup games as well, So I think that it can't be that much, can it? But anyway, you know what I mean. So what we need is a first choice keeper and a second choice keeper, and what we also need are two centre halves that are going to form a partnership and be there all season. I think that little triangle there of goalkeeper and two centre backs is a really important thing. Lee Harvey saying, I reckon we get one in summer. Yeah, we got to get one. I'm almost certain we're going to get one, because at the moment Panzo isn't the answer. I mean, he's a good backup for a left-sided defender, and also so is Jack Robinson. But I think if we're going to look at like getting ourselves out of this division next season and making a serious fist of it, we need to be a little bit more. Wait for what I said about 5 times yesterday. We need to be a little bit more oven ready with the players that we buy. That's my opinion. Paul James is saying, and keeper, because of what you said about the relationship with two centre backs. Yeah, exactly, Paul. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I guess that's what you did there. Typed it as I said it. And we need a keeper that's going to be very commanding in the box, because the way, I mean, it hasn't been that way this season, but I think the way we recruited the keepers, and particularly if you have, for instance, Ryan Allsop as the keeper, and I think this was the thinking when we came into this division. I think that we thought we were going to be a lot more defensively astute than we actually were, and I think it left Ryan Allsop a little bit exposed. He's not that commanding. I mean, he talks a lot and he's all right. He can get up and take a ball, but he's not that big, commanding goalkeeper that you need, and because he wasn't needed to be. He was good at doing what we're good at, which is playing the ball out. Interacting with the defenders, he's good at. And then when I think it went a little bit pear-shaped for Ryan, and when Beadle came in, then Beadle isn't that keeper either. I mean, he's great. He's a great static keeper, but he's not old enough yet, I don't think, to command that kind of respect in the defence. And I don't mean that the players around him don't think he's good, but he isn't that experienced. And I think a lot of the punching and that's been coached into young goalkeepers didn't sit well with a lot of older supporters. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, providing it's not punched down at the floor or something, but it isn't always easy to catch balls. So I think the way, and particularly now as well, because the balls are so different than they were 10 years ago, the ball's a lot lighter, it moves more, so punching is considered to be probably the safest way. So I think there's a lot of things to think about there, but probably a goalkeeper who's late 20s, approaching 30, who has got a very well experienced goalkeeper, who commands his box, who can talk to defenders, and who can let defenders know where he is. And that's not a criticism of either Beadle or Allsop. I just think neither of them is perfect for what we want. Paul Paz Parish, are you, mate? Um, Mr. Starter is at work. Hope you're well. Looking forward to a good performance Saturday. And of course, Paz, shit on the Villa. Um, Gordon Graham Busby is saying Barkley would be a good a good signing. Definitely, yeah. There's quite a few out there that would be good. Um, but I just wonder how our recruitment model is going to be working. Are we going to do the same thing again? Are we going to scour 40 countries for these players that we need? Or are we going to be perhaps still look for players, the way that we did last season, but also go out and probably, earmark 3 or 4 that we think would really suit our model? Bring like a well experienced goalkeeper. I think with the left sided centre half this time, we have to go out and make a point of finding someone who's got preferably Championship or Premier League experience, and who's proven as that left sided centre half that can play football a little bit. Those two, the goalkeeper, the left sided centre half, I think we go out and handpick those. And it might be also the case with the number 10. We haven't got a number 10. We've been looking for one all season. We was looking for one at the end of the summer market. We was looking for one in the winter market. I think that Chris Davis was sold a bit short in the summer transfer market, simply because it was like he wanted a number 10 and he was given Kanya Fujimoto, who, when I seen his numbers and looked at him as a player, I thought this lad looks really good. He played it in Portugal at the top level, and I really thought, this is going to be a good signing. But he just didn't make it, did he? He's not going to be playing for Blues. So I think this time we have to look at someone, and we have to be able to say to Chris Davis, this player is a very, very good player. Now go and use him, because you can't expect Chris Davis to work miracles with players that are unproven and have never played in England, and he has to introduce them to that. He then has to get them up to speed with the club, and then he has to get them up to speed with English football and with the Championship. Now the Championship, as we all know, is probably one of the hardest leagues in the world to get out of. So to expect, a very slightly built Japanese player who has experience in the top league of Portugal, which is fair enough, but it's not England, is it? I mean, these guys come over here and they play like, I don't know, 6 games in 2 weeks at one point, I think we played. And they just can't live with that, they're not fit enough, they're not used to it. All the way through their careers, even though they're only in their early 20s or mid 20s, they've been taught to play in a different way, and their bodies are geared differently to the way the English player is. And I'm sure we're going to get the best out of some of the players that we have now that haven't come to service yet. Because of that, it takes time to build that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Am I talking crap? Lee Harvey, we've been doing that for a while, bringing players never heard of, can't settle in the Championship. Well, some yes, Lee, and some no. I mean, you can look at some of the players that we brought in, and they've been really, really good. I mean, I know, like Williamson, for instance, last season was good up until January. He was a really, really good sign. Never played in England, and he helped us a lot. He scored quite a few goals and had a lot of assists. He did, obviously he went, didn't he, in January. So not, he didn't make it in the Championship. And then you have players like Tomoki, who has been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he? And he'd never played in English football. So, it's sort of horses for courses, really. But we look at the signings that we've just made, more recent, you know, in the summer that did work, and they were ones that have got some English football experience, weren't they? Like Dimmy and like Paddy Roberts and like Doyle, who's had a semi sort of successful time with us. So all these players have got English experience, and of course Jack Robinson has. I mean, he didn't have the most auspicious start, but I think he would have done a good job for us all the way through the season if he hadn't had such a fucking car crash at the beginning with us. Lee Harvey, sorry, I've spoken about that, Lee. Paul saying one of the Winton Warriors just posted on the site a picture of himself in pink and blue. He's banned, needless to say. Nice try, but no cigar. Bless them, you know. They like to come on in there, you know, like pink and baby pink and powder blue. It's all very pretty, but, you know. I mean, what would you go on? I wouldn't go on a Villa site. I do go into heroes and villains, but I don't like make myself known or anything. I just go in to have a look at them having a meltdown. I don't go in there to, like, you know, put a photo of myself on there. Why would you do that? I mean, I don't get them really. I don't understand that. But anyway, we've got a few Villa fans in our group. I don't mind anyone coming into our group and talking to us, providing they're human. You know, you start giving us shit and you're gone. It's always been like that. Lee Harvey's saying, not me, Steve, can't stand them. Nor me, Steve. Yeah, you know, we're all different. I mean, one of my best mates is a Villa fan, so I can't say, you know, I hate all Villa fans, because I don't. My dad was a Villa fan, and my half-brother and half-sister are Villa fans. So I really came out of it well. I was lucky, like, I think my uncle seen that I was a child under threat. And like took me from a bad situation and took me down the blues. I think he could see a case of child abuse coming up, and managed to sneak me into St Andrews a few times. And once you've been in, that's it, innit? So, but my sister, my half sister and my half brother are bloody mad Villa fans, you know. In fact, my sister, Beck, has got the what's the name of the pub in Wootton Wowing? That big Villa pub, that's her pub, that is. Her and Gary. Her fella Gary is one of the old Villa lads. He used to be known as Screwdriver, if you know him. And Beck, and it's the... it's not Wootton Wowing, is it? It's someone out by... I want to think of it in a minute. Fuck. Oh, bloody hell. I'll let you know in a minute when I think of it, because I will. I think it's called the Bell. Anyway, someone will probably tell me, because I know a few people on here that go in there and they know that my sister's got it. Yeah, but anyway, so I've got family members who are Villa fans, and listen, you can't help it, can you? Sometimes, I mean, you can't hate your family just for being Villa fans, but you know, there's always that little funny side to them, isn't there? You know, it's Water Orton. It's the that big pub in Water Orton. Anyway, one of you will know what that is. Any names spring to mind for the goalkeeper? No, I mean, there's a lot of good keepers out there, so I think it's a case of just fight. I mean, you could go into like the Championship, League One. There's going to be some good goalkeepers in there. I think there are a lot of good keepers. The lad at Coventry, of course, who's on loan from Brighton as well. He's had an absolutely fabulous season. I think Coventry is signing him from Brighton. I forget how much they want. I think they wanted 15 million for him or something. And there was talk last night, of course, about us and Osman and Chris Davis, you know, saying that you might think sometimes that Osman, he looks a little bit uncontrolled. But he's a young lad, and you can't take that out of his game. It's what he does. You know, sometimes you'll go past players as if they're not there. Another time, he'll just cut in and go into a brick wall. But I think with players like that, that's the sort of player that scores absolute worldies out of nothing, you know. So you know, I think that with players like him, and it would be absolutely brilliant if we could get Ibrahim Osman as a signature in the close season, but we're talking again about 15 million to 20 million pounds for him. He's only young, and it's probably money well spent. You know, like when you get him, it's like Priska. He's one for the future. Osman's one for the future. Some of the players that we got now are players that are only going to get better. You know, Ethan Laird's only young, really. You know, I think Ethan Laird's 28. He's got a great future, and hopefully it's with us. You know, he's an absolute gem of a player. Left backs, well, we got Wagner, and of course, you know, if I had to keep one of the other two full backs, it would be Buchanan. If Lee completely recovers, you know, I think he's something different to Wagner, but he also gets forward a lot, and he's a very, very good footballer. So, you know, the back four of Wagner and Laird as the full backs, and the two centre backs, the new left-sided centre back, and Chris Clara, I'm pretty sure he's going to be staying and going nowhere and will be the captain, and a new goalkeeper. And suddenly, that, you know, let's put the bolt on the back door there, you know, and like, and that's the defence. And then we try and keep that defence as much as we can. Obviously, you're going to get injuries, you're going to get suspensions with defenders, but let's try and get that established back four in and keep them there. And, you know, one or two of them being able to break forward when we're in possession. Now, I've been thinking about the way we set up, and I've been thinking a lot about it because I do like the 4-2-3-1. So just to sort of understand it a little bit better, so we have four at the back. So if the opposition kicks off, we line up with four at the back, you know, and then we have two in front of them, the two sitting defensive midfielders. So that would be at the moment for us. Is it 24? That's me, you see. So Laird's 24. That's even better, isn't it? I'm sorry. Keep right on. So Laird's 24. See what I mean? But when it came to us, when we was in Spain, I know he'd been at QPR because I was talking to Mark Halsey about him, and he's a QPR fan, and he was saying, yeah, he's all right. Like, you know, he was on loan from Man United, and I think he had a bit of a fallout with QPR about something. I can't remember. Lee's saying I would have took Schmeichel for a season in goal, but he's injured and thinking of giving football up. It's a good keeper. I think we'd want someone a bit younger than that, personally, Lee. But yeah, so as I was saying, so we have four at the back. So right and left sided full backs and two centre backs, left and right. So when we kick off, we have that four. If the opposition kick off, that's the four we have in front of them. We have the two sitting defensive mids, Solis and Pike at the moment. Then we have the three midfielders in front of them, usually at the moment two wingers and a number 10, and then a striker up top. But I was just thinking about this. Do you think we stretch ourselves a little bit sometimes with two wingers? You know, could we be a little bit more compact in the middle? I'm not being critical because I don't know anything like as much about these things as Chris Davis does. But it's just a thought for me when I watch them sometimes, and particularly since we've got the two new wingers. And it's absolutely great when we're going forward, but we do get caught sometimes. And I think if we're a little bit more, had a few more bodies in the middle, it might be different. I mean, we could still play with those two wide players, but what I was thinking of was to play a 4-1-4-1. So you would have that back four the same, and then you would have Solis in front. Then when we are in possession, then the fullback or the centre half or whoever's going to move forward then moves in alongside Solis, and then it allows you then have like five players in front of you. So you would have the back three away from home, two wingers, is suicide. It can be, you know, and I mean, it's lovely to see it, you know, but what I'm just saying is sort of what you've just pointed out there. So for me, if we had in possession, if we have the three at the back, centre half or right, or say Laird or the centre half, instead of bombing forward too much, moves us up the pitch a little bit, giving us that two in front of the back three, and then we have the four across the middle. So you could still have two wingers, and then you could have like two number eights, and then up top a Priska or a Stansfield or whatever. So it's a different look, but it's not quite as stretched. So it's a little bit more solid down the spine of the team. It was just something I was thinking about. Yeah, I don't keep right on. You got to tell us your name, mate, because I keep saying like keep right on, but it's not often that. I think sometimes it's like playing with 10. It's not often that both wingers are completely out of it. I mean, we seen the other day a couple of great examples of Osman tracking right back into his own, just outside his own penalty area, and making important recoveries. I think we see the same with Paddy Doyle. Fucking hell, what's the matter with me? Paddy Roberts. I think Roberts isn't the same winger as Vicente and Osman. He's not an orthodox winger, Paddy Roberts. He tends to come in, so he would be great as one of the number eights, and then perhaps I don't know. This is just me talking off the top of my head now. We need. I think we need another ball playing midfielder. So if we did play that way with a 4-1-4-1, we wouldn't need to have that number 10 that we've been dying for and looking for all the time. And I think it would just give us a few more bodies in the middle. So when you've got 4-2-3-1, we are a little bit light at the top end, aren't we? And so we have to push forward to get more bodies up there, and then we caught out at the back. Whereas if we were a little bit more prudent and sat back a little bit more, but involved more players further up the pitch, I think it will be a better move for us. Sometimes, not always. I mean, we could play that, the 4-2-3-1 at home. We could play the 4-1-4-1 away. Yeah, obviously this is all down to Chris Davison. We're just talking hypothetically, and it doesn't hurt just to talk about it and get it out there and see what we think. Well, what are your thoughts on that, guys? I don't know. Because I think with John Solis sitting in front of that back three or four, it does look a lot better, doesn't it? I think he's given us another dimension to our game. But I think particularly if we play with Vicente and Osman in the same team, then we are looking a little bit stretched then, because they both go wide, don't they? There's no we're not, we couldn't ever be called narrow, could we? But it's something to think about, and I don't know. We can have a little look through the next few days, perhaps, at players that we might like. Perhaps who wants to go out and scout for us for a left-sided centre half. Come back and tell us what you think. There's some good ones out there, and also a keeper. So so we get the back four sorted next season, because I think it's all we need, really. Because if we keep Neumann and Panzo, or Neumann and Robinson as the two covering centre halves, if we get injured or something, then I think we're fine. It depends what we want to do with fullbacks as well. I mean, do we keep Asai Samuel, or do we think about trying to move him on and getting someone else in, perhaps a younger fullback, someone more in the style of Ethan Laird? Because what happens when we lose Laird, which we did, I think, in September, then for 3 months we were without probably one of the most influential players in our team, and that's a big miss for us. Whereas if you have, here it comes, an oven-ready Ethan Laird sitting behind him who can come in and play a similar game, then we're going to be in a much better place. Because when Samuel comes in, he doesn't play the same way as Laird. He's more defensive. He's not a bad player at all, I don't think. And I think when he first came, I think he would have been great to play on the right side of midfield and to keep Laird where he was at right back. I was surprised when I seen Laird on the bench, because I think Ethan Laird's one of our best performers last season. But I have to say, after seeing Samuel in the Ipswich game, I did think, well, actually, he's really good. And he was getting forward, wasn't he? And I think that game, we did look really, really good. I think we was well up for it. It was a Friday night. It was the first game of the season. It was on TV. We'd just had our fabulous season and we looked electric, didn't we? And I think even Benjamin Bloom, who's an Ipswich supporter, I like his podcast. He's a good lad. And he said, like, they got out of jail with that, with that penalty in the last dying seconds of the game against Lyndon Dykes. Wasn't really, they didn't really deserve that point, but cream comes to the surface, doesn't it? And Ipswich are there now, aren't they? I mean, Ipswich, to me, probably are going to get that second place. Now, the way I'm talking about next season would probably make you think that I don't think we're going to go up, or I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. And if I'm honest, I don't. The reason I don't think we're going to make the playoffs isn't because we can't get some results going from now till the end of the season, but I think we've got a Southampton team that looks absolutely up for it now. Now, if Hull collapse and we have to have Wrexham to collapse as well, and we have to have Watford not to do any better than us. So it's a difficult. We're asking for a lot of things to happen, and of course we remember the season when we went down. We needed a lot of things to happen, didn't we? And those things didn't happen, did they? We did our part, but the other teams all did their part as well. Like I think Portsmouth won, and Blackburn won, or whatever. There were victories for teams that just never, that should never have won the games that they were in, but they did. So you can't rely on other teams. So I think all we can do now is wait and see how this season goes. If we win at Derby, then every time we pick up 3 points, then we get more positive. If we lose at Derby, then I think, to be honest, we have to just put our hands up and say it ain't going to happen, because Derby are going to, obviously, they're there as well. It is good that we're playing some teams around us, because by beating them, it does move us further up, or further, or closer to the. It stops opposition teams getting points when we're gaining them. So it's going to be. It's nerve-wracking, but I don't feel like as nerve-wracked as I would have done had we won last week and we'd now got 57 points or whatever it is, and we were only a couple of points away. Then I would have to go through the whole painful thing that I went through last Saturday when we failed to beat Sheffield United and we drew. So we can sit back, I think, and have our fingers crossed and hope for some exceptional performances, and hope that we get points, and hope that other teams drop their points, and hope that we get into the top 6. But if we don't, then I'm not going to be massively disappointed now, because I've sort of acclimatised myself to the fact that we probably won't. So if we finish 7th or 8th or 9th, I'm going to be okay with it. It's been a shitty championship, and we're going to have some teams coming down next season that are either going to keep the players they have and risk all sorts of shit if they don't get automatic promotion, or they're going to have to do an awful lot of selling to survive. So it's going to be interesting. We know Burnley and Wolves are going to come down, I think, but we're going to have a West Ham or Sheffield United, aren't we? Now, when you look at Burnley, they're extremely good at being promoted. They're also extremely good at being relegated, but they're happy with that model. They go up, they get the 150 million, they get relegated, they get 1 season of reduced parachute payment, they go back up, they get the 150 million, they come back down, they get a reduced 1 season reduced parachute payment, and that's sort of where they go. They've got a team that's sort of too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League, so you've got to fancy them. But Wolves, what's going to happen to Wolves? I mean, Rob Edwards, for me, the best manager in the world. We've seen, if somebody shows him his knickers, he's off there like a shot. Like he left Middlesbrough, didn't he, for Wolves? So I don't know about Wolves next season, but whoever doesn't go up, they're going to be in our division. So I hope Ipswich go up. It looks like Coventry going up, so you've got to say Ipswich and Coventry, because I think Ipswich are probably definitely, if they're not going to go up this season, they're going to be thereabouts next season, where Middlesbrough might not be as strong. And then when you look at the others, Hull, Millwall, Derby, these are just fodder Championship teams, aren't they, like us? It's that group of teams that made up a Championship that is probably a lot poorer than it's been for a long, long time. So, we have to wait and see. But I don't know. Does anyone think that we have, more than a 20% chance of getting into the playoffs? Andrew Williams is saying, when you look back on the whole season, quite simply haven't been good enough to go up. I mean, the thing is, Andrew, you can't argue with points, can you? And if you don't get the points, then you're not good enough to get the points. And I think when you look back on the season as a whole, there's probably 5 games where we could have got 1 or 2 more points. So, I think the Coventry one, we were robbed. I think Albion at home, we should have got the points. There's been quite a few games. You think if Kyogo scores 4 of his one-on-ones, but that's what it's about. That's why it's a poor Championship, because we probably weren't good enough, and neither are a lot of other teams. But if you've got 2 really good teams and then 5 or 6 that aren't good enough, well, one of them's going to go up. Bex, how are you, love? You all right? Good afternoon, Bex. I hope you're all right, love. Keep right on. He's saying, saw an article where Chris Waddle, the Old England international, was saying he watched the Sheffield United draw at the weekend, and he feels we don't create enough down the middle, and crying out for a creative number 10. So not just us who can see our shortfall. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think Chris Waddle's right, but Chris Davis will tell you that himself. We've been trying to find a number 10 all season, and we just haven't got one that's done the business. I think we was looking at Dowling earlier in the season, in the close season, and I didn't really want Dowling because I thought there's better out there than him, but he's quite good, isn't he? We just failed, we were looking for one at the end of the summer, because I think Chris Davis realised that Fujimoto wasn't going to be the one that did it. And then I think we tried severally, with Stansfield and Dux. Dux for me, everyone knows my feelings about Dux, I mean, he's okay, he's fine, but I don't think he's a player that I think if we're going to go into that Championship next season and we're going to command a position towards the top end of the table, then we have to have someone that's going to do that every week, not just now and again. It's just not good enough for us. Stansfield isn't a 10. He contributes a lot. Doyle's not a 10. He plays too deep for a 10. But could Doyle be one of the number 8s that I was talking about if we play a 4-1-4-1? you know, Doyle and Roberts alongside each other, sitting behind one striker and a winger each side, or one winger and another player coming in, and just Solis behind them. And then where do we play Pake? Do we play Pake further forward in that four, or do we be a bit more adventurous? Who would want that headache, you know? Oh, I'm so glad I'm not Chris Davis. There's an awful lot you can look at, and you can imagine these conversations that go on here with us in a Facebook group. You can imagine the manager and the coaches and, you know, the recruitment team, like Mike Rigg and like Craig Gardner, sitting around a table talking the way we're talking now, and looking at these things, and looking at players at the same time, and saying, you know, God, you know, like, here Harry Parker's a really good number 10. What do you think? Let's have a look at him. He's a bit old. Yeah, but you know, them conversations going on, you know, and then you think, yeah, you know, let's see if we can make a move for him. You know, so the goalkeeper, this goalkeeper, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it must go on forever, mustn't it? I mean, here's us talking about it, and we don't even know what we're talking about. These people sort of, well, we do know what we're talking about, don't we? We've got as much right to make our comments about the club and about, and respectfully about the club and about the players and about the manager as much as we want. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's something we can carry on with. Tomorrow we are going to be looking at the Derby County game, so I think that's going to be it's certainly not going to be an easy game, is it? They've got some really interesting players. We know how John Eustace sets up, and really, for me, Derby should be there for the taking. Roberts is a 10, and Vicente on the wing with Laird, right back. Lethal. I'm a right half, by the way. Fucking right half. What's that, Harry? I don't. Roberts isn't a 10, Harry. He's a little bit too lightweight. He's a little bit too deep. It could be, you know, but I think. I mean, Roberts could. I'm sorry, I misread that. I thought you said Doyle. Yeah, Roberts. I think Roberts a possibility. He could play that 10, but he could play, you know, if we played the 4-1-4-1, then you could sort of play with two number 8s, couldn't you? You don't need to have that one creative player. You could have two, and then you could have one winger and perhaps a Pake who might be a bit more defensive or something. This is just things that are going on in my head. There's a lot of other things going on in my head as well. There's like Fred Flintstone's chasing a dinosaur in my head as well at the moment. So there's a lot of stuff going on up there. You know what a right half is? Yeah, number 4, isn't it, Harry? Is it a number 4? So when we look at teams, you often talk about a 6 and an 8. So a 6 and an 8 would be your two midfielders, one being deeper than the other. You know, the 6 would be more defensive, the 8 would be more attacking, the 10 would be the one that plays the passes. You know, we don't really talk about a number 4, but Harry's talking about a number 4. So your 6 and your 8, you know, would be like Pake and Solis, really. But so Solis would be the 6 and Pake would be the 8. But could we have a more adventurous 8, or could we have two number 8s that go a little bit further up? That's what I'm talking about. I'm right there, Harry, aren't I, that you're a number 4? He's gone silent. He's working it out now. He's looking on the back of his old shirt. Yeah, so we've had an interesting chat again today. We haven't had as many comments as we usually have, but I think that's, I don't know, like I've been talking a lot, so hopefully you've been listening a little bit to some of the drivel I come out with, and then also that you're thinking about stuff yourselves and coming back with it, which is nice, isn't it? So it is good to have these sort of conversations, and we're all sort of understand each other a little bit more when we're in the group as well, and when people talk about, you know, I mean, some of the shit that just unbelievable. I don't even want to say most of it, but you see it yourself, and you'll see this guy. I forgot what his name was now. I said it earlier, didn't I? Tim Dore or something. Go and have a look at his post. He's brilliant. He loves a bit of hospitality. He suspected that I've never been in hospitality. That's what he said. I don't suppose you've ever been in hospitality. No, what's it like? Please, I've had my nose pressed up against the glass sometimes, looking in at you having a chat with Tom, sharing a pork pie. I just wish I could be in there, Tim. Harry, that's a 4. I was in a trial at Damson Lane against Latchford, end of my career. Which Latchford, Dave? Anyway, yeah, that's a 4. Listen, you'd have had to unplace or replace Ron Wiley, so that ain't happening, Harry, I'm afraid. Ron Wiley, of course, and Malcolm Beard both played for the Villa. We had a lot of players that played for the Villa. Someone was saying yesterday that we should sign John McGinn. It's not a bad shout, you know. He's a very good footballer, but I don't like having ex-Villa players, really. I don't. We have had some good ones, but I don't really like it. Anyway, I think we're going to leave it there for today. 56 minutes on the clock and counting. So thanks for keeping me company for the last hour. It's been really interesting. Tomorrow I'll be a little bit late, I think, because I've got a late day tomorrow. But having said that, probably not. We'll say 1 o'clock again tomorrow, and we'll make that 1 o'clock, which we've done all week this week, which is brilliant, I think. And have a little think about. I'm going to give you some homework, right? Find a keeper, find a left-sided centre half, and find a number 10, and let's have a little think about the 3 players that we want that are going to make us tick next season. Goalkeeper, left-sided centre half, and a number 10, or a good number 8, you know. All right, yeah. Let me know what you think about about those formations as well, because it is interesting to talk about them. You know, I don't mean to sound like a dick here, but don't be scared to, like, you know, say I think I think a 4-3-1-2 or something would be all right. You know, 4-7-8. Yeah, that would work. 4-3-1-2. Do you know what I mean? But you can be inventive with it. I mean, nothing's definite, is it? And but like someone was saying yesterday, it was like the old Barry Fry formation, 1-10. So it worked occasionally, didn't it? But guys, thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Up the Blues. I always get the wrong arm. Come on, you Blue boys. 3 points on Saturday. We keep the dream alive. Keep the dream alive. Up the Blues.